Welcome back to another episode of the Working Class Fishing Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brian, and here is Mr. John Morris, as usual, with the sponsors.
Welcome back, everyone. Woo, I just crushed a burger. This episode of Working Class Fishing is brought to you by Angry Rooster Fly Company. Lid Rig. 317 Flies and Maxon Outfitters.
Make sure to go check out all those fantastic sponsors. We do have discount codes for all of those guys, and they will hook you up for sure. So tonight's very special guest, he came to us as a suggestion, and then I was like, well, who is this guy? I go look him up, and I'm like, oh, whoa. Yeah, there's a lot of people that know this guy. There's a lot of people that like what this guy does. And he's got a really cool YouTube channel, and he does some pretty unique fishing adventures. Wanted to welcome John Dalton, also from the Creek Fishing Adventure channel on YouTube, to the podcast tonight to talk to us pretty much about fishing like we have been for the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes before. John, welcome to the podcast. We're happy to have you here.
Well, appreciate y'all having me. It's awesome to be on here. Love to talk about fishing or anytime pretty much.
Yeah. Well, you definitely, you're a very busy person for sure. Between your coaching duties, fishing, recording videos, everything else. I think that there's a lot more to the man than just what people see. But man, you have this YouTube channel. It's got all of these cool little places that you go and fish. A lot of places that people wouldn't even think about fishing. And that's one of the things that makes your channel unique, I think, is that you don't, you're out fishing creeks, but, you were out today, it's cold, and you thumped a big smallie.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about that more?
Well, especially during the winter, I have to keep videos coming. So I have to make videos, and plus I want to go out and fish as much as I can in many different ways as possible, always learning. So I got the chance to go out with a guy, Caleb, and he guides around here, and he's trying to build up his guiding service, kind of getting back into that. So, he invited me to go out. Obviously I'm going to try to help promote his channel here in Chattanooga area. And then so we go out and fish down in the Tennessee River. And I don't hardly ever fish off boats. So a lot of the stuff we're doing, I'm not even it's fishing, but it's different. So we started off fishing, trying this, trying that. And then we switched to a crankbait. And I never use a crankbait, but I'm like, well, I'll try it. And then boom, I catch like 5 or 6 good smallmouth. One of them was 4.5 pounds. It was 20 1/4 inches long. That was pretty good. I was pretty excited about that.
So when you say you don't fish a lot of crankbaits, what would you typically fish this time of year? What are you fishing?
Well, the main thing is if I'm fishing this time of year, I'm fishing off either off a bank or off a kayak, and I just crankbait's just nothing I'm not familiar with. Like there's actually a lot about fishing that I'm horrible at. And I really don't know that much about fishing, but I know how to catch small fish in small bodies of water. And that's what I enjoy. And like all the other stuff, I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to there's a lot of things I could do. I just don't, this doesn't excite me. But catching a big smallmouth is always exciting. But most of the time, around this time of the year, I've been doing a lot of multi-species. Like I found some skipjack off a bank. They were like schooling, and then you catch a few of those. Yeah, those just hit and jump all over the place. White bass, yellow bass, if I can find them, crappie. Love to catch some crappie if I can find them, because you can find them, this time of the year. Sometimes we're off the bank. Of course, largemouth, smallmouth, a lot of spots. Bluegill. I've had a bunch of bluegill videos where I'm just going out just to catch something. I'm like, I just want to go out and catch something. So I caught some yellow perch the other day on some worms, and yeah, whatever I can come up with.
Yeah, when we were also talking before this, you brought up the yellow perch and them being very active during the cold season. When you're catching those perch, I mean, perch are pretty straightforward for a lot of people. For myself, not so much. We have them in my region, but not that much. When you're fishing for them in a river system, where are you finding those fish at predominantly?
So we got a couple rivers here that are they come out of the plateau. They come out of Georgia, North Carolina mountains, come into Tennessee, and they're colder water. So they have a lot more of these, where most of Tennessee, you can't hardly catch perch because they like colder water, and then either that or they're in deep lakes. Well, these are shallower lakes, and there's one lake. It's like a chain of lakes. We have a bunch of dams. The TVA has all these dams for power through here, so we got a lot of dam systems. And but perch are usually like they get in these, like what I find them in lakes and where I found them the other day, they're like just flat areas, like 4 or 5 foot deep, flat, like where the river was coming into the lake. And I was just throwing out a piece of worm just to see if I could find some, because I had this new little I was taking out my little bass raider boat, and then I caught like 5 or 6 like in like 20 minutes, because they're all bunched up usually. So if usually you find them, there's a bunch of them. But there's a couple places where I fish for them out under a spillway sometimes if they're there, little crappie jigs, or something like that, little spinners, but worms or something like that. You always, they'll hit that, but they're very aggressive. And there's a couple lakes where we catch them where we're bass fishing and we'll hook in a 10, 11, 12 inch perch, and it feels like a good bass. Those dudes fight hard. And then you're like, wow, that thing's huge. But yeah. So yeah, there's certain places I've kind of learned how to find them, and they're kind of fun to catch.
Yeah, for sure. And with a lot of those types of species, they get classed as a warm water species. But you're absolutely right. Perch are aggressive. I've been out, fishing for catfish, and I'll put on like a 4/0, circle hook, and I'll just see the end of the rod go ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh, what's that? And I hook it and I reel it up, and I feel because you got a heavy action rod, you're fishing for a fish, and you reel it up, and here's a 8 or 9 inch perch with this 4/0 hook gagged in its mouth. You're like, you're ridiculous, dude. What are you thinking, man? Oh, so out there hitting the creeks, getting on the fish, even in the winter. It sounds like you're not avert to using bait to really seek.
I'll probably use whatever. I've started to slowly move to using more artificial, whereas a few years ago I'd go to worms or stuff like that a lot, where I've started messing around with a lot of really ultralight, like 1/64 ounce, sometimes even lighter jig heads, like super light lures. Like a heavy lure for me is like a 1/32 ounce. That's a lot of time. So like that would be like one of my heavier jig heads that I'll go to, because it just sinks through the water so slowly and allows, you might be a creek channel where I just don't know what's in there. So I'm kind of just moving or walking the bank, and just kind of find like what's in here, and what can I come across to catch, just for have some fun, just to pull something in today.
Yeah, and with a lot of that, the going smaller really helps you to hunt out what's there. And you do a lot of that, and all the different types of artificials that you're using and things like that. Seems like you focus a lot on those smaller lures. When you're going to select those lures for this time of year, are you looking at like colors to mimic, or what are you looking at?
I'm not a good. I've never gone by match the hatch. I know that's like huge everywhere, but like for me, and like the way I fished, I've almost come to find out, like the weirdest looking thing, I catch more fish on that, like color wise. I don't know. I mean, I know match the hatch works in certain situations, and I've seen it work even when I have gone for trout or something like that. It's like you're not catching unless you use this exact little thing right here. Like you can have 100 fish there, they're not biting. But when I'm searching out fish, I'm usually looking for like you say crappie or bluegill or yellow bass, all those kind of fish that I'll throw, pink or orange or chartreuse, like the brightest colors, and they're just thumping it or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I use a really light one, because, and if you ever fish for like bluegill, say I just want to catch bluegill. Sometimes bluegill can be really hard to get to bite. Mm-hmm. And they won't bite a bigger lure, but you go down to just I got some like a trout magnet or a 1 inch minnow type thing, and they'll just slurp that in, and you can sit there and wear them out, where if you were using an 1.5 inch lure, they're biting the tail and you're not catching any of them. Things like that. Yeah.
That minute. I mean, a 1/2 inch in certain circles is quite a bit, but that minute of the difference is really making that big of an impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it a lot, and then even the jig head, like say it's, I'm using a 1/16 ounce, like most people are like they're usually on 1/16 ounce. Usually, what is that, maybe like a size 2 hook or something like that.
Mhm.
And I'm going, 1/64th ounce. I think they use like a size 8 hook, a tiny, and the people are like, what are you going to catch this tiny little thing? I'm like, fish. I'm just trying to catch fish. And half the time that's when I'll throw that little lure, and that's when I catch the biggest. I'll catch a bigger crappie or a bigger red ear, and you're like, how come they didn't hit the bigger lure? They hit that smaller lure. But just especially in the wintertime, they don't want to put all that energy out there. And in my area, there's such a big push. Like we are in a bass fishing, mega area where everybody is bass fish, bass. That's where I'm like, let's just go catch something else. Let's just go catch whatever's the easiest to catch. I don't have to go out there and catch bass every day.
Well, and I've watched your videos where you like went to Florida and a fantastic bass fishing destination, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, all those places. But you were in Florida. It was like you were fishing in an aquarium, and that seemed to be a pretty significant trip for you, because you really had quite the monologue of videos from that. When you were down there, was it your goal to go and just explore every little creek, every little inlet, everything else, and just see what was there? Because there's literally hundreds of different species.
As much as I can get in with the time I have, that's the goal. When I go to a place like that, because like I can put a good 15-minute video together in 2 to 3 hours, and sometimes less than that. But at the same time, I just want to have fun, and I'm like, hey, I want to do what I want to do and have fun with it. And if I'd rather catch 10, these fish over here than fish all day for like one big something that people want to post a picture and brag about. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, for me on my channel, 10 little fish is going to do way better than catching one big fish, because that's the following I've built up, and I get excited about that. So I'm out there having a blast just catching fish, where I don't get excited waiting all day or just casting lures all day for one big fish. It just doesn't drive me the same way.
Dude, so the first video I saw of you, I was sitting in Afghanistan chowing down on some it was like corned beef hash and eggs. And I think that was like 2019. Is between 19 and 21. And you, trying to remember what tournament it was. I think it was the Old Hickory tournament or something like that. One of the bass tournaments out there, and it was close by. And you were fishing the bank, and you plugged this like huge largemouth on some like really light gear, and I was like, "That's awesome."
Yeah. I love finesse fishing and light gear. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to learn other things, but I'll rather throw a little yum dinger or a little Helgramite or just something like that and just catch fish. Like, especially when I'm doing a tournament, I just want to catch something before I start trying to even think about trying to catch big fish. But those little lures this year I've broken like my PBs and a bunch of things, and all on like a 4-inch yum dinger, and catching like 5 and 6 pound bass. So it works.
So, John, how did you get into fishing, dude?
It's probably, I don't know. I'm from, my family we're all from Kentucky, and everybody is related to the hillbilly. Everybody fishes. It's like, everybody does that. But my mom and dad, they'd like fished a little bit, but they didn't really even, they didn't really fish. They would go sit on the bank, throw out a worm, or go to a pond every once in a while. And when I was 6, we moved to this. My dad was a pastor. We moved to the house that was right beside the church. So it was like, like that was the house, and there was a creek going in the back. And from 6 to 10, I lived there, and that changed my world. Like, it was a tiny creek. Like, you could walk across it knee deep at the deepest part. But I remember going down there and I would take a cup and like try to get darters to like back them into it, catch crawdads the same way. And I was very interested in all the things that are in that creek, snakes, turtles, tadpoles, the frogs, just like the whole thing about that creek. I always thought was so fascinated. And then I would be catching fish that I could tell were a little different, but I just didn't know. I'm like, well, I don't know what this is, but I know it's different than that one. And then, I always had that desire. Then once I got a little older, basketball, like I'm big on basketball, and I kind of that took over really. I didn't fish near as much, a lot of time playing basketball. And then as I moved back to East Tennessee about 8 years ago, and I kind of sold. I was getting older, didn't have people to play basketball with, sold a bunch of trucks I was working on, and picked up fishing. And then this area has got so many creeks. I kind of just started exploring the creeks again, and it just kind of took off from there. And like, hey, I didn't realize how much fun I had, especially as an adult. I can go all the places now, and I can go anywhere I want to go. And I love it.
So are you a Western Kentucky fan for when it comes to basketball? Who's your team?
No, it's University of Kentucky, but okay. I know more people that went to Western. Like my mom went to Western, my brother-in-law went to Western. But yeah, I've always grown up a Kentucky basketball fan.
Hey, it's whatever. I don't judge you.
Did you do basketball in college?
No. I mean, I had the chance to like go to some like really low, small colleges, but I went to Christian school when I was in high school, and I was very good in that league, but we never like played against big schools. And so I never like had never really thought about college that much. And then once I did graduate, I was like, I don't want to study. I don't want to read. So I went to tech school. I went to an HVAC school that was close to my house, real easy, got a degree in 1 year. And I played I've always played. We used to go play against college guys all the time. Like I've kept up until, probably I was about 30, and then I've really slowed down my basketball playing. I'm coaching now, which is more aggravating because I can't get the kids to do what I know to do. That's the worst.
That's one of those things that kind of comes as a combination of being like a teacher and a mentor, and then because there's parts of you that when you're like at a game and you watch the kids and they're struggling and you're like, I gotta jump, no, don't do that, because you can see everything like unfolding. You can see a play falling apart right in front of you, or something, and you're like, no, don't do that, don't throw it over there, this guy's watching, he's gonna steal, or he's gonna get the rebound. It's so like, but at the same time, it's like, how do the kids learn to watch for that? They got to make the mistakes. And but yeah,
I compare so much from basketball to fishing, because I feel like that's two things I know about. So I try to relay a lot of things, but I love talking about basketball. I'll talk about basketball to people like all day or something like that. But I've seen basketball at like high levels, and I like been around guys that are like high level athletes, and like it's so instinctive. They just do things without you telling them. You can't teach like instincts. Like I only have 6 players on my team, and they're not really basketball players. They're out there to play and they're trying. But like when you see a guy that's a baller, like that dude's a baller. Like he just does things. You don't even have to teach him how to do things. I think fishing is so much the same way, where some people just figure things out by just like, how'd you learn how to do that? I don't know. I just figured it out, or I just started doing that. I just thought this. And it's funny, the comparisons, just I guess it's being good at anything. You understand it and start figuring it out on your own.
Well, I think that kind of falls into fly. And when you think about like fly fishing, think about fly fishing, and you think about the people that are really good, like really good casters that can just lay out a beautiful cast into a run, or people in fishing that can fish spoons real effectively. Because you see a lot of people, they're like, these are junk, they don't work, and then you see other people that can just grenade fish on spoons. Or some people are really good with using their rod to fish, more than their reel. And that was brought up to John and I by a very awesome guy, Kelly Gallup. He a few episodes back, he had brought that up to us. He's like, well, all the top 10 guys and the professional bass fishing said they used their rod more than their reel. And it's like, it's like all of that stuff that goes into it. It's just like, you have epic 3-point shooters, out there that like Larry Bird, he just says, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to throw this in. That's a name you don't hear anymore, but that was Larry Bird. I mean, or you had somebody that could just hit every single free throw, like they had a 93%, average or more, it's like those are just those instinctual fundamentals that all come together, like, and that's what wins it or catches the fish.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, I love to talk about like sports and basketball and stuff like that, like the strategy and everything. I don't want to go too far off track with it, but so one of your big hallmarks with your channel is you're out creek fishing, but you're doing a lot of it out of a kayak, which is a pretty popular way for people to get around. Kayaks are not horribly expensive. They're a lot safer than what they used to be 20, 30 years ago. They're a lot more user friendly. There's purpose built kayaks, but I just saw today you put up a video of a new boat that you have. And I don't know if that's new or not, but I've never seen it before on your channel. What is that boat?
Yeah, that's the went and got it from Bass Pro, the Bass Raider. 10 foot. So this summer I went and bought a 15-foot aluminum boat for like, I don't remember, like $1,500, and it idled low. It was weird. So I thought, I'm like, I want to take this thing out all the time. I took it out 2 times in like 3 months because it was so much easier to take my kayak out. And so I sold it and went and bought the Bass Raider because I'm like, well, I can still load this up back in my truck. And I've taken it out like 2 times. Well, today's video, I had a company send me an electric motor, and because of my channel, so they're like, hey, I get a lot of trade-off from, I know y'all know how that is, certain things, but like that's where I'm starting to get. I'm getting like, hey, we'll send you this. We want 2 videos or in 3 posts, blah blah blah. So that was kind of testing it out. But also, any kind of thing I get like that, I want to. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll take it because I want to learn. I want to try it out. I want to be able to be knowledgeable about it. But Old Town sent me my pedal drive kayak. I was wanting to go buy one. I just didn't really have the money at the time. And then Old Town was like, hey, we'll send you a kayak. I was like, yes, perfect. And that was right when I first got into the tournament stuff. It was like right when I first started. And the pedal drive kayak, I tell everybody this, like it's amazing the difference, like the difference it makes. Go out fishing on a lake or going out somewhere. I enjoy it so much. And I never kayaked. I didn't have a kayak till maybe like my first, like about 5 years ago. I bought one, like a cheap one, and then I've kind of evolved. Now I have 2 or 3 of them, but I've grown to love kayaking so much. It's about the most fun. You can get away from everything. You're by yourself. You're right on the water. It's super quiet. You're right there with the fish. Yeah, it's close to the most fun fishing that I can do because just all the things that go into it.
Yeah, it looks, I mean, for the creek fishing and everything else, it's like the way to get around.
Yeah,
man.
And river floats, like that's my favorite. If I could choose one thing, I would float rivers every day, like a 5, 6, 7 mile stretch, because you just get to go through. You get to, I don't know if somebody else already has phrased this, but I always say you're fishing for the least pressured fish you're ever going to fish for. You're not going to come across more least pressured fish than floating a river, because you're going to come across holes that fish maybe haven't been caught yet. Maybe they're young and they've just grew up, or maybe they get casted at 3 times a year or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Now some of these are populated, but a lot of the streams you can get access in these places that nobody's going down. And the scenery, the wildlife, you just get away from everything. Most of them, some of them go through towns, but most of the part, you're seeing things that no one else will ever get to see. It's a float. You're having fun while you're doing it, So I'm really fired up. I'm waiting for spring to hit, where when all our bass kind of get going again, and then I'm gonna go to do a lot of kayaking this year.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to see it because I kind of wanted to backtrack to the Florida trip a little bit, but looking forward to the future, that's going to be super cool. Yeah. Just from that standpoint of seeing how, because your channel's been a real evolution. Because you've changed things up and you've done different things and you're trying different things and you have new products and everything else. So it's always fun to watch those evolutions unfold. I think that's one of those things. It's kind of like, oh, what's the new season of TV going to have? For all of us that don't watch like regular TV, we watch, You know, guys like yourself that put this together because it's fun. And, you know, John and I love panfish. I mean, we're just, that's like, I don't know. If I didn't live in the Pacific Northwest and we didn't have like trout and steelhead and stuff, I would have to say bluegill. I don't think I would fish for anything else, especially if they got big. Like if they were 10 pounds, I don't think anybody would fish for anything else in that respect. That's another guest of ours, Bart Lombardo. You know, he was like, yeah, they're just insane. But just watching that evolution was cool. Going back to the Florida trip though, how many different species did you get into there?
I don't even know, because some of them I didn't know what they were. So like I'd always, like, I'd never really been to South Florida. I don't know if y'all have you ever been to like Everglades and stuff, or South Florida down there?
Never.
Okay. Like I mean, I've never really traveled anywhere. I always lived in Tennessee or Kentucky. And the first time I went down to Florida, I was like, I want to do it. You know, I want to make it a trip during the winter. And I had a guy, I was meeting up with another guy, so he's going to kind of show me a couple spots and places. And that I was like, that's the most life-changing place and like trip that I've ever done. I'm like, it is unreal. It doesn't even feel like anywhere else. Like the weather feels like you went to another continent. It's different. Everything is different. It's just, everything's flat. Waterways are every which way. There's no end of water. There's these huge, like, I mean, obviously the whole thing's a swamp. So you can, like, these roads going through it, and you can stop anywhere and probably catch a fish on the first cast. You know, and if you can't, just go down to the next spot where there's a little bit of current, and then you catch 20 there. And there's, you know, certain, and then of course there's all these different spots. Like there's so much down in South, you can spend forever in South Florida and not fish all the different little areas they have. Like I haven't even done this. I want to go snakehead fishing. I haven't even done that yet. But like, just, I tell people, just go to the Everglades and find a place to stop. And, you know, there's a road, Tamiami Highway, goes all the way from like one side of Florida to the other side across the Everglades down there, Miami to was it Tampa, I guess, on this side. And I don't know, it's like 40 or 50 miles. I don't even know how long it is, but there's just like, it's all water. You're going over water the whole way. And a lot of it's super clear, you know, full of alligators. And you'll stop and look in, and you'll see 100 fish just glancing in, just in 30 different species. And so, and then if you get on some like Oscars, dude, you have to get the Oscars, because they're like bluegill on steroids. And they just come in, like, if they want to eat, you cannot stop them. They will hammer your lure. And I'm like fighting in like a pound Oscar, and it's pulling like it's a 5-pound bass. Yeah. Or then you hook into like a peacock bass or a gar or all the different bunch of different cichlids, and then a bowfin. And yeah, it's I don't remember. I just remember like we stopped at one spot and I caught like 30 fish in like an hour or less. And then the ones whenever I didn't catch it on the cast, I usually had a hit. I was like, this is unreal. Like, you can fish like this. I'm like, this is way too easy.
I was going to ask about the Oscars, because when I think of an Oscar, I think of like an aquarium fish.
Yeah,
because you go down to the pet store and there's Oscars. Are these basically feral aquarium fish?
Yeah, it's the exact same. They look the exact same. Like, but they're like 3 inches thick. Like they are slabs, and you can't hold on to them because they're so strong. They just jump out of your hands. But it's like all muscle. Like, I think a lot of people eat the Oscars and the peacock bass. And like, I never fished with a jerkbait, and I'm used to like finesse fishing, like fishing slow. You can't catch anything fishing slow. They won't bite it. You have to, like, if you throw a jerkbait out, you have to jerk it as fast as you can possibly jerk it and reel it in, and then they'll hit it. Wow. I was like, what is this? It's like so I went under a bridge. I did like 2 videos out of this thing, but I got my kayak in. I don't know if you're supposed to go in these waters to the kayak. Like, there's gators and stuff, but I'm like, I'm doing it. I have to do it. And I went out, and like in an hour, I caught 20 peacock bass, and probably had 15 that hit and came off. And I'm just like, cast, bam. And it's like, you can't go fast enough for them. They love the erratic, just like chase. But yeah, it is unreal. And like, you do it, and then most of us, like, for me, it's only about a 10, 11 hour drive, something like that. So, but still, it's like, I'm going down there 3 or 4 days. I'm like, well, goodbye world. I'm going back. I'm going back for 30 degrees, leaving 89 degrees in December.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good right now. I could go for that, dude.
And then there's the brackish water, which there's, I mean, y'all you probably have some of that stuff, or you're probably more familiar with that. But like I fished some brackish water. Like I went in Florida and I caught a snook and a bass, I think, in the same water, and then some other stuff. And I'm like, I haven't even got into all this. There's so many other things you can go for. But yeah, it's fisherman's paradise.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I know John and we've talked about wanting to go down there just to fish the saltwater, to go out and hit the flats for the bonefish and the permit and the tarpon and all that. But those Oscar, I've just never seen such a slab of like muscle that come out of a little creek, and then to fight it in on an ultralight. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I was, at the first time I went down there, I was using, like, gear was way too light, because everything will take you into weeds, like, because there's so much like pads and weeds, and so you have to like use a little heavier stuff because you got to get that thing in. And then that was just the strength of everything. It was like I wasn't ready for that. It was high changing. And then it's like, all right, where do you want to go next? Well, let's hop 2 feet over and we'll go catch a bunch of different fish or something. But the how, like, what's crazy, I don't understand. I guess it's because all the grass, like, you'll see miles of a wetland, and you're standing on the edge of it, casting your 20 feet, and you can catch 100 fish standing there, and they just keep reloading. I'm like, how many fish are in these places? Is like the amount of fish in those places. Because like, well, I go to a lake here, and you're like trying to find the fish. Where are they at? Okay, finally found a few. There, it's just like, oh, here we are. We're gonna fish here.
Man.
Dude, that's
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, dude, no, I can tell you're stoked.
Dude, I've probably sent more people to Florida than anybody, because I've had so many watch my videos, and they're like, I'm going. And then I'll get a message, dude, we just went and caught a bunch of fish. We went down here. It is it excites me to excite other people too. I'm like, dude, I'm glad people are having fun, because it was something so easy, and it's something I never really saw videos like that. Like, you see people walking the canals in Miami searching for those giant fish, and I'm like, this is so easy. Like everybody should do this. Give it a chance.
Dude, I would love to get out there and go catch some peacock bass. That's like one of my bucket list fish.
Yeah, I still haven't even caught a big one yet. Like, I mean, they say, I see people catch like 5-6 pounders. I'm like, the 2 pounders are just, when I can catch them like on every other cast, it's hard to just stop. It's like, I'll take these.
Yeah, you said the Oscars were like bluegill and steroids, and if there's 2 things I like, that's bluegill and steroids. So
that's a good mix.
Gonna have to go and try to get some of those sometime too.
Yeah. They school up. Like, I saw some places where we were looking at them, and there'd be a school of like 30 or 40 of them, and sometimes they wouldn't bite, I think, but they're so, like, what's crazy is I go in December usually, and like if it cools down to 60 or 70, like the fish will, they'll shut down, because it's like just a little drop. But like they say in the summertime it's even crazier, and I've never even gone in the summer. But you can catch them on. They'll eat worms, jerkbaits, they'll eat anything, I think. So,
dude, that's like it's like gar, man. Like, the hotter it is, the more you don't want to be out there, the more they're alive and just willing to eat, dude.
And in Florida, they have the Florida gar. I didn't know they were different gar. So they're like way more aggressive. I was catching them like crazy. They would bite like way more aggressive than the gar around. Like, we got long nose and spotted gar, which I'll catch those every once in a while. But the Florida gar, like, they'll hit like everything.
They're ravenous, dude. It's pretty scary. Dude, so do you I'm from Tennessee originally. So
okay.
Yeah, I live in Texas now, but you ever fish Dale Hollow, dude?
Yeah, a few times.
That's
where my PB smallmouth is right now.
Dude, I was about to say, that's where like the Tennessee record, like, smallmouth is from. Dude, what about that water though?
Yeah. I got, like, I love it and hate it. Like, I don't we had a tournament, so a bunch of guys went up there recently, and then we got one coming up. I'm a kayak tournament, and everybody's like, oh, dude, Dale Hollow. I'm like, I don't know. It ain't. It can be really tough. I've had a lot more tough days out there than I've actually had days where I catch fish. But the quality, like you can fish all day and then catch like a 4-pounder or something, there's the quality is pretty good. But it's I've gone out, I've fished it several times. My buddy Tyler Reed Angling, he fishes it a lot, and we could go all day and catch 2 fish, something like that. But yeah, the second time I went, I caught a 4.5-pounder. It was just over 4.5, and I was like, oh, this is the best. And like ever since then, I ain't got nothing even close to that.
So, are you fishing like the KBFs now? And
I want to start doing some bigger ones. The one I'm doing is just like a local tournament, but
Okay.
I qualified for I fished the Bass Nation.
Yeah.
I fished the state. I fished the state tournament twice. I got to do it, and this last year was on Kentucky Lake, and it was the worst fishing I probably ever did in my life. Like more than half the people skunked on the first day. It was just one of those kind of things. Like, no, like if you weren't having fish blowing up in front of you, like finding schooling, you weren't catching them. But I got qualified to go to do the national one, and it's here at Chickamauga Lake in Tennessee in March. So that'll be like the biggest thing I've ever got to do, and I'm super excited about it. Like there'll be like the big time kayakers are going to be there. I'm not expecting to place or anything, but I just want to be in the mix and not be last. So, but I want to do some of the Hobies. I want to try some of the Hobies if I can. I've never done one of those. They got one on the New River in Virginia, and that's one I think would be really cool to do. I've never fished the New River that much.
dude, the New has. We were talking Josh and Chris, and I've heard this from other people, but they preach it. If you want like the best smallie fishing in the U.S., it's the New River.
Oh,
like it's the New, and then you've got like the Susquehanna
yeah.
and PA, and then you've got the upper Mississippi River. Like, but then they also mentioned Tennessee. So
the Holston River that comes out of Virginia, and there's like a couple sections of it, but I caught a 4.1 pounder last month with a guy, and then I lost one that was probably bigger than that out of the Holston, and my buddy fishes it, and yeah, he's catching 4s all the time. There's a lot of good fishing in it.
Dude, the Holston's solid, and I mean the South Holston is like renowned for its trout. It's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of good watersheds in Tennessee. You ever fished the Cumberland?
the Cumberland River?
Yeah.
Not really. I've striper fished like a river off of that.
Okay.
And but I don't know if I've really fished the Cumberland any. I fished off the bank. I used to live in Clarksville. I don't know. Where were you at in Tennessee?
I grew up in Macon County, and then I spent about 6 years in Montgomery County.
Yeah. So were you at Fort Campbell or what?
Yeah, I was at Fort Campbell.
Okay, yeah. So I lived in Clarksville for 13 years there. So right by Fort Campbell. We did a lot of heating there, work on the base all the time. So
Okay.
I still got a bunch of military friends. I mean, from the area and living there and stuff like that. But yeah, when I lived there, I didn't fish that much. I would go to the Cumberland, fish off the bank or do something. But I wish I had taken more advantage, because there's some really good creeks and like the river system there. I wish I'd have fished more. But that's when I was always playing basketball and stuff like that. And you can't have too many hobbies. That's the thing I've learned. Like I would be playing basketball and then go work on trucks, and I'd have no time for nothing. Now that I'm fishing, all I do is fish. Like I don't have time for anything else.
So what was that? What was that shift for you? What was just like, man, I'm just gonna fish again, and then it took you hard. What was that?
Yeah, it was decluttering. It was moving away. I had a house, a garage, stayed full of I was always working on something, spent all my money on tools and parts, and I love fixing things. And then I worked heating and air, where your schedule is crazy. I'm always on call. So I moved to East Tennessee, and the couple of guys that I worked with were like, they would take me to, they were like, you want to go fishing? I was like, yeah. And they would take me to some places. I'm like, this is really cool. And then I started just exploring places on my own, got back into it. because I had time because I didn't have nothing else to do really. I moved to an apartment, so I'm like, I gotta find something to do, and I just started picking it back up. And at the same time, I was 30. This is right when I was about to turn 30. I moved here when I was 27. I'm 36 now, so I was just about like around 30, and that's when that was the first time I kind of started watching YouTube. I only watched it for like basketball dunk highlights. Let me look up Tracy McGrady dunk highlights or something like that. And then I'm like, people are like putting fishing videos, and I started like, oh, okay, I want to see what's going on in this fishing, all these fishing videos, and it's like every post is like, oh, mega bass or topwater explosions. I'm like, yeah, like I don't do any of that. Like, let me find somebody that does creeks, and I search, and I don't find anybody. So this kind of answers your question as far as I'm getting back into it, because YouTube really pushed me to get back into fishing a lot. But like, I was already doing all these things. I was, talking about, I found this 2-pounder in this like, 12 inches of water, and people are like, no way. Like, yeah, I'll go show you. I was catching, fish and just having fun. And I was like, yeah, I went outside after work, sat on the creek bank and caught like 10 fish, nothing special. And then I started looking on YouTube, and I'm like, nobody's doing this. I'm like, people need to be showing this. This is just fun, real fishing. I'm like, there's got to be other people that like this. So I like, for 6 months, I thought about it, and I was like, well, I'll just start making videos. I'm like, never made a video in my life. Didn't know a single YouTuber, didn't know anything about it. Had no camera, no, I didn't have a laptop. So I just went and like bought some stuff. And I was like, I'll just share it with my buddies. Like, I'm sure there's a couple of guys. I'll get 300 or 400 subscribers, and maybe just to have this little community going. And that's how I started. And once I started doing it, I realized, hey, this is fun, and I enjoyed the process of taking people on a journey and showing them how easy fishing can be, or like where fish can be in crazy places. And then of course, like we were talking to Brian, like it's evolved into a lot of other stuff. But that's just me growing as a fisherman. Like, I didn't use a baitcaster until like last year, guys. I refuse to use them. Like, I don't want to use a baitcaster. Everybody says you have to use them. I'm not going to. I'm going to fish the way I want to fish. I'll use this cheap rod and reel if I want to, and I'll go out and catch fish.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like that. That was big driving on it too. Like, I just wanted to be different than everybody else. So that kind of drew me just to get back more into fishing. And then the more I got into it, the more I learned. The more I wanted to do. The more I showed videos, the more I'm like, oh, I can make a better one. Oh, wait, I haven't gone over there yet. And then it led to me that really unlocked me exploring places. And then I start looking, where else can I go? Yet, like just yesterday or a couple days ago, I found this spot. It's an hour away up in this hill. There's a spillway. And I'm like, there's not even a road within like 5 miles. And I just marked it in my maps. I'm like, I'm going there this summer. That kind of stuff. Like, I want to go where nobody's going, just explore stuff.
Man, it's just incredible to hear all that, because it just starts from one little thing, and now look where it's at. I think there's so many people, and let me step back. How long have you been doing YouTube?
Yeah, so I've done it 6 years. It'd be like 6.5 years. I started when I was 30, and I quit full time at it at 33. Yeah, and I've been doing it for like three and a half years full time.
Okay, so for so many people that go on YouTube, they're very much so expecting like instant gratification. That's why the channel just kind of goes fly by night. It goes, it's there, and then it's gone, and it's like, hey, where'd this person go? Like, they had good momentum, they had good stuff going, but then it just kind of fell apart. I noticed with like anything that John or myself do, it takes that extra time to be able to do that. But building the channel, building the community, it's all a time process, and if you have good people around you, it really does help to make that work. But you for 6.5 years, you have a lot of subscribers, because we know people have been doing it for 10 years that have 10,000. Now they're not into the big, like, oh, I need all these subscribers or anything. And neither are you. People just like what you're doing. But what really broke through for you with that? I always wanted to ask somebody with that, like as large of a subscriber base as yourself. You always hear like the little pundit things with all the music, but where did it break through for you?
Yeah, I remember when it happened. I like saw it, like I could see it happen in real time. I like watched my views just change, like it started in the spring. It started in like March, and it just changed one year. But I did it for 2 years. I think I was at 1,000 subscribers after like 2 years. And of course, YouTube's different. Like it was still then, like the growth was slow, but like if you got a jump, it was a faster jump. It was a little bit weird right then. Which I mean, I've seen people you can do it now. You can start now and never grow, or you can start now and have 100,000 subscribers in 2 months. It depends. I imagine that a lot of my stuff I was putting out probably was just horrible videos, and just really sloppy. And then it kind of grew a little bit, and then that traction just kind of builds a little bit more traction. And then I had a couple videos that I think were maybe a little bit better done and just a little bit more exciting or something. And a couple of those videos just kind of took off really fast. And when I said take off, I remember it had like 20,000 views, and I was like, oh my goodness, 20,000 views.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't get 20,000 views on a video, I'm like, man, that's sad. That's just your expectation. But like, I had a video that got like 25,000 views in the first month, and I'm getting comments, and I'm like, wow, I actually made money, more than $100. And like before then, I was like, it was like $100 a month or 150, and I was totally happy, perfectly satisfied. But once it started growing, and I saw that growth, it's like an itch I couldn't itch I couldn't scratch, where it's like, wow, this I gotta keep working on this. I gotta get even better. I gotta do even better. And I really don't know why it did, but like I had a jump where it just went from like I was at 4,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers in a month and a half to 20,000 subscribers in like 3 months. I had the 6-month span where it just jumped like crazy. And this was before COVID hit too. So it wasn't even at the COVID point yet. So this was like the year before COVID hit. It jumps. I went from I was watching my revenue, and I was like, it was like, yeah, you're gonna make $300 this month. Like the next month is like, oh, you're gonna make 1,000. You're gonna make 2,000, and it never went back down below $1,000 a month from that point. It went from basically nothing to, yeah, you're making over $1,000 a month from then on. And it took me it just kept growing. It got creator on the rise for the YouTube thing. I got put in that because I was growing so fast. And then like I'm just watching this, and I'm at like 23,000 subscribers. And I just see, I'm like, dude, the more videos I make, the more the potential I have, because every video, I just need to keep putting out videos. And I quit my job at I had $24,000 subscribers when I quit my job. And like, it was probably stupid to do, but I'm like, I'll do it. I don't care. I have to try this. Like I had like $10,000 saved up from making on YouTube. So I'm like, I'll just rely on this money, and hopefully I just keep growing. And then right when I quit, like COVID hit, and it was like the best thing for me, because I got to go travel all over and go fish wherever I wanted. Everybody's like watching YouTube. There's a big, jump on YouTube at that time. People were like fishing, obviously y'all know fishing went like crazy. So I think that just kind of helped it jump up too. It's just a combination of, I really don't know. I know the Lord blessed, and like just it did it. And now I'm like, hey, I'll live off of it until it goes away. And so far I'm still doing it. So
Man.
Dude, that's so, there's so much work that goes in. Oh man, do you think you could go back to a regular, like filling AC units, and you think you could go back to that?
I need a new AC unit if you're going to be in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, I can put it in for you. So I think I could. It would have to be like, you're in the military. You know how it is. You go. You said you've been deployed and stuff.
Yeah.
Like my brothers are both, well, one of them's been deployed, but they're both military. But like I know I can do anything. It's just that switch. Like, do I want to? It's like it might get to the point where I'm like, no. And then it's like once I do, I have to go full back into what I was doing though. I have to be like mentally, okay, I'm going back into this, and I'm not going to try to keep YouTube going at the same time. Maybe I'll post every once in a while. So if I ever quit YouTube, I have to go all in to whatever I'm doing, because that's what I learned when I went into YouTube. Because I was going to do it, because I could easily have a, like, heating and air. Everybody wants it. I could do a business. I was going to do a business for myself. I was like, I'll do part-time heating and air, and then YouTube in the spare time. Like 3 weeks in, I were like, after I quit my job, I'm like, if I'm going to do YouTube, I have to be 100% on it. I can't do anything else. And that's what it takes to like keep it going and to maintain it, really, to grow. And there's certain guys out there, they make, I mean, obviously there's like, certain people have the personality or the skill or something where they got, or they're editing and they're like, something's already really good. And if you don't have any of that, you gotta do everything the best you can do. You can't rely on one thing.
Mhm.
But I've thought about it a lot, and if I ever have to quit YouTube, because it could easily go away, like 2 months ago, or this last month, my revenue probably dropped 40% or more in like 1 month, but it's starting to climb back up. That's the way it is. If I ever have to quit, I hope I could go in, like, transfer this into some kind of fishing world job. Mm-hmm. But if I have to go back to heating and air or go work at another company, I like that kind of stuff. I like fixing things. I like hands-on, but it has to be a thing where I'm like, I can only focus on one thing. So it would be hard to do, because I've thought about it a lot. I'm like, man, what if I had to go get another job? I would have to be like 100%. All right, I'm stopping what I'm doing. I'm going all into this and going to look for a good job in this field.
I got you, dude. That's just awesome though, man. Like, when people are able to do what you're doing, and it's not just by like happenstance. There's there's literally so much work that you guys do to be able to do what you do. Yeah, I mean, it is work. I'm just glad people get to work at something they love doing.
Oh no, I hate the phrase when people say, what is it when the people say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life?
That's so not true, though.
It's not true.
I say if you love what you do, you'll work every day of your life, because that's like, I don't really like editing, but I'm like, I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna work at this because I want to make a good video. I want to do this. Some days, like, I fish more than I would if I was just casually fishing. I'm like, no, I want to go out and fish because I want to go film something cool. So I'm just totally, like, always, every day, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do to grow this? And I have to keep pushing. If I've had a couple of weeks, if I put out like one video a week for back-to-back weeks, like, the views just drop like crazy. So I do 3 videos a week, try to make them 15 to 20 minutes. I like a little bit longer videos. I watch videos all the time, how to make good YouTube videos. I'm constantly researching, constantly doing things like that, constantly trying to come up with new creative things, stuff like that. So I never thought I would ever have a job where I like spend time on a computer. But when I quit to be a full-time fisherman, I spend I don't know, 10, 15 hours a day sitting here at my desk on a computer.
Wow. But I think it goes without saying, and you'll have a lot of your viewers that listen to this podcast, keep supporting the YouTubers that are out there that are putting in, because you're editing, your time, your expenses, everything else. That's what a lot of people don't see on the backside. And when the viewers are out there viewing the video, I think it goes without saying, view the entire video, show that full support for that video, hit the thumbs up. There's things that we get to do as viewers for free that don't cost anything, reviewing things, leaving a comment, a like, all that stuff helps out the creator a lot, and some people say, when a creator gets to a certain size, well, they don't need any of that anyways. Look, they have every single like counts, every single 5-star review counts. It all adds up, because that is how people get to know who's out there, what they're doing. And everybody has their own little unique story to tell. Whether it fits your narrative or not, at least try it one time, and check it out. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm a big creek, panfish angler, because, well, number one, I really don't have a lot of creeks with panfish around me. We have rivers and we have lakes and stuff like that, but we don't really have the same thing. But I gain value from your videos, from what you do, because it's like, hey, John did that, I'm going to try this. He's got this advice for this species in this time of year. Why don't I give it a try? Nobody else is out here. It's 40 degrees and downpour rain. I'll go try to catch some perch. Why not? What else am I going to do? Stare at the wall in the house? I got good rain gear. Let's go, But I can learn a lot from a channel like yours, where you do those types of things and you put out that content. So, I mean, for people that are viewing you, I think it goes without saying, a thumbs up's the freest thing that you can, I mean, it's just kind of like hey, that was cool. That's all it is. And you just hit that thumbs up and it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. I think part of my success has been, I think I do have a good, stable, like a very good, steady, like support of viewers. Cause I feel like I got this, like this little hardcore niche of guys that are like, almost like anti big fish or anti bass fish guy. Like, no, I don't want, and they're just looking for somebody a little different, but maybe not trout. Because there's a lot of guys, some people hate trout fish, and some people love trout fishing, and I know y'all know that is. And the same thing with like fly fishing. And like, I watch guys that make awesome fly fishing videos, but like, you don't get any views because there's like people not really that interested in, for the amount of population. But like, I feel like I have this hardcore niche of like guys that just have come onto my channel and really support it. And it's very stable. Like, I always get views, like, and I really appreciate those people. At the same time, like, whenever I've had the same motto, and I don't know if it's good for everybody or not, but like, I starting my videos, and I still today, I'm like, I'm making the video I want to make, and I don't really care who likes it. I want to do what I want to do. I hope people like it. I hope they enjoy it. It's awesome when they do, but I want to make the videos that I want to watch or I want to do. And of course, now that I have to do them all the time, some things are like, I try different things, but I've always had the mentality like I'm not trying to do things just to appease people. And I don't feel like that's a great way, because people say they want one thing, they don't know what they want. So if somebody's like, oh, we want to see this, and then you do that video, and you're like, nobody watched it, so
yeah.
But I do appreciate like people that support a channel, and I have a lot there like that stay with me, and that's huge. To find people that'll stay with you and watch them.
Man, I know we're coming up on our hour, but John, I want to leave this last little bit of time for you if you got anything else for John.
Well, I mean, not really, man. I asked you everything I wanted to ask you, except like maybe we should go fish sometime. But
so, how do you know T and Flyco? You talk to them?
Yeah, I talk to Caleb all the time. Yeah, Caleb's one of my good friends.
Okay.
Caleb and I, we both tie for Daiichi hooks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Caleb's one of the homies.
Yeah, it's cool. I did a meet and greet over there at his shop 2 weekends ago. It was really cool. I never did one of those, so I had some people show up. Some people drove like 3 hours away to show up, so I was like blown away. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I was gonna make the suggestion that when John is back in Tennessee visiting, that maybe you guys should connect at some point and get out and do some fishing. If you're in the general vicinity, I know that I look at Tennessee as a small state, but it's pretty good size,
Yeah.
It's got a lot of length, not a lot of girth,
Yeah.
It's long.
Yeah. Oh man. So John, where for our listeners, where can they find you at?
Yeah, my main source is YouTube, Creek Fishing Adventures. You type that in, you're gonna find me. but I'm starting to try to post on Facebook. I'm trying to grow that. If that's, I know people make money off that. That's like another thing I'm trying to like add. You know, of course, I'm on Instagram. I try to post on there. But my main thing that I try to stay consistent is YouTube, posting videos, and I usually can do 3 a week. And but yeah, just look on there, Creek Fishing Adventures. I should usually pop up pretty good. Hopefully, I do.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it comes up for me when I type in creek. It's like there it is, and then one thing I will say is that you are very responsive when you're not busy. You're extremely responsive to questions and answers and stuff like that. So, you know, I invite people. I mean, don't you keep. I guess I don't want to invite people to sit there and blow up your inbox. I'm sure that it does get blown up on the socials, but you know, you're a wealth of information. You have great stuff out there, and you know, I was really looking forward to this interview when we finally were able to schedule it, because I was like, I want to get John on. Chris said we could get John on. I was like, I want to get John on. This kind of completes this whole creek culture here. And we have a lot of friends that fish for panfish and small creeks and stuff like that, and they fish in a variety of ways, but this kind of, you know, helps bring all that together. But you know,
I like talking to guys like y'all too. Like from what I've heard and like listen to some of y'all talk, like you're not the guy that's uppity about catching this or that. Like you don't mind catching anything. Like we're talking about bluegill. Like you can have joy catching, you know, a fish that big, you know, and that's fun. Where some people like they can't, like, why would you even waste your time? I'm like, if you don't get it, you don't get it, you know?
Yeah. Well, is it really a waste of time, or are you gaining enjoyment from it? I mean, John and I have bantered back and forth over text and phone about like how awesome bluegill and pumpkin seed and red ear sunfish, and I mean all these little fish that I think more so that when you talk about fishing for the small fish, there's lots of them and they're a lot of fun to catch because of the way that they eat things. It's just a bluegill, the way they eat a dry off the surface, you know, dry fly fishing. It's that snap and bang, they eat it, and it's so much fun. I don't know how else to explain it. Or you get a smallie that grabs something, you know, I mean, and it could be the tiniest little smallmouth like that, and you're like micro bass, you know, you're sitting there holding it with your pinky, like, you know, it's just this little tiny fish, but it's still cool.
Fine bass.
Yeah.
You know? Dude, sorry, I didn't. I had like this epiphany, right? Dude, have you ever fished the Evergreen Gizmo?
Where did I just hear that? It won. Somebody did that in a tournament recently, didn't they?
It won the Hobie.
Yeah, I heard on the Smalley talk. Or was it them or?
Yeah, we just had Chris and.
That's okay. That's this. I listen to them some. I don't listen to them all the time, but I love listening to them talk about their trips, like they said, Upper Mississippi, stuff like that. But yeah, so no, I haven't tried it, but yeah, I heard them talk about that.
Yeah, Dave. Shout out Tackle Warehouse, I guess. They've got some in.
Okay.
And not in the color that won, which was, I mean, it doesn't matter now. It was black, right? But Dave, you have to pick some of them up. And the color you want, just paint them black. All right. I'm just
yeah, I gotta try that.
Man. Well, that's at the end of it here. So John, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time with us tonight. And I know that you have a busy schedule. It's basketball season. You got a lot of recording to do and everything else, but I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been an honor and a pleasure having you here.
Dude, I've had a blast. It went by really fast. I really appreciate y'all reaching out to me and talking and giving me the time of day and stuff like that and talking to me and everything. So that was awesome.
Yeah, not a problem ever. So, John, you want to run down those sponsors one more time?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I always get mixed up. Go ahead.
Dude,
sorry.
Dude, it wasn't just you this whole time. Hey, say John, and I'd be like, you know, my ears would perk up a little bit. Be like, yeah, what's up? And then be like, oh, he's talking to the other John.
Yeah.
But from your resident John here, this episode was brought to you by Max and Outfitters, Lid Rig, Angry Rooster Fly Company, 317 Flies, and Morris Fly Co. Go check everyone out. I'm the last one on that list, and I should be the last one you check out. But go check out all of our other sponsors. They're really good people. They've got a lot of awesome deals going on right now. Just just let them know that you heard about them, even if you don't buy something. And because they're all cool people and they'll talk to you. They're wealths of knowledge. And I hope everyone had a great holidays, because I guess this is going up after. And until next time, eat your vegetables.
Awesome. See you, everybody.